Hello, and welcome to your webinar, Address Quality Health Check. Today, we will discuss how address quality can affect every facet of your business and can ultimately have a large impact on your business's bottom line. My name is David Risen. Bill Meade and I own OMECorp, also known as Oklahoma Mailing Equipment, which turns 40 this year, Andy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, hard to believe. I mean, I'm not much older than that myself.
Well, that's what's hard to believe.
Besides meeting all your mailing and shipping needs, we also have Genesis of Oklahoma for all your copier and document imaging solutions. We are proud to sponsor today's webinar titled Address Quality Health Check. If you missed our most recent webinars, we covered smart shipping for business, and the response was overwhelming. In fact, we had so much information that we had to split it into 2 parts. We'll be replaying those in the future, but if you'd like to see them sooner, put a request in the Q&A area and we'll get you a copy. As usual, Andy will be doing all the heavy lifting, but I'll be answering all of your questions throughout the webinar. When you have a question, just click on the question mark icon on the left side, and a dialog box will appear on the right. Just type your questions into the box, and I'll answer as soon as I see it. As for now, my job is done. Andy, take it away.
Thanks, David. As always, I'm your host, Andy, and today we'll be focusing on address quality in your business. I'm sure most of us have heard the saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Well, today's webinar will show you how poor address quality can quickly get out of hand, but the right approach can save your business a lot of money. Our topics today are static versus dynamic addresses, core software structures, the $1, $10, $100 rule, address quality and shipping, address accuracy, and reactive versus proactive. As David mentioned, he will be answering questions throughout the webinar. Let's put David to work today by asking as many questions as you can think of. Really, there's no limit.
Thanks a lot, Andy.
No problem, David. If he misses a question, or if you think of one later, feel free to email those questions to your web manager at glc@omecorp.com. You'll also see a poll question come up, so pay close attention to those icons on the left, and when one lights up, just click on it. To respect your time, I'm only going to take about 20 minutes today, so we're going to go at a quick pace, so open your eyes and ears, and away we go! Now, in our recent webinar, Smart Shipping for Business Part 2, I spoke about how address quality can impact all departments from shipping to sales and even accounting. In fact, bad address data can lead to increases in labor costs, lost sales, less repeat business, just to name a few. But don't just take my word for it. Check out these supporting stats, all found on the World Wide Web. According to the U.S. Postal Service, 23.6% of all mail is addressed inaccurately. USPS also states the quality of stored U.S. addresses declines 17% per year. The Data Warehousing Institute says contact data quality problems cost U.S. businesses more than $6 billion each year in postage, printing, and labor. The Information Difference states that 42% of businesses make no effort to measure data quality. Now, I can read most of your minds, and you're probably wondering, if this is such a big issue, why aren't there more companies tackling it? Well, frankly, there are many reasons why some companies just don't get it. Here's some common excuses costing your company money today. I don't know I have an issue. Departments don't communicate the address errors or use different addresses for different purposes. I don't know how to fix it, so it's an acceptable cost of doing business. I believe the project is too big to tackle right now. Or I believe a partial solution after the fact is cheaper than fixing the problem now. Well, one of the biggest reasons that companies don't understand the importance of address quality is because most shippers and mailers don't know the difference between static and dynamic addresses. Most mailers and shippers believe their addresses are static because of the frequency of use or the nature of their business. Few believe that an address is ever-changing and dynamic. So what's the difference between static and dynamic? Well, a static address is an address that a company uses and it very rarely changes. A dynamic address is an address that a company uses and it changes frequently. Although most companies believe they have mostly static addresses, the truth is that all addresses are dynamic. The only variation depends on how dynamic they are. Let me show you how it works. The U.S. Postal Service is saying that their address information erodes at a rate of around 17% per year. And remember, 40 million or more people move every year. In fact, on average, 75% of the population moves every 5 years. With statistics like these, it's only a matter of time before any given address will change. Unfortunately for us, only the customer knows when that address change will take place. So wouldn't it make more sense and benefit our businesses more if we were always on our toes and not just wait until there's a problem? The fact is, most people rarely use anything other than the U.S. Postal Service's address change notification form. And even with those forms, companies usually don't have a formal process to directly notify all the appropriate vendors of a customer's address change. It's true, most companies will be sure to notify billing or accounting of an address change, but that information is usually not delivered throughout the entire company. Let's discuss some of the address quality challenges that come along with core software structures. Most companies either have multiple software systems, each specific to individual business functions, or enterprise-level software used by all departments. Beginning with the multiple software system shown here. The problem with data and address quality here is that most of the time systems don't share information. But even if their databases are integrated, not all data is cleansed because you usually only have a single point of cleansing. Ideally, you want a type of checks and balances system, with multiple checkpoints at entry, storage and retrieval, and use. Now, I don't want you to get a false sense of hope with the enterprise-level software shown here. It should be perfect because you have one place to get the data, right? Wrong. With single shared databases, you almost always have security and permissions in place to maintain the overall integrity of each department. These security and permissions business rules will inevitably create additional databases that are not cleansed at multiple checkpoints, which again need to be at entry, storage and retrieval, and finally at use. Pop quiz. Don't worry, it's multiple choice. When is the best time to correct a bad address in the customer journey? Is it 1. Address collection and entry, 2. Address storage and retrieval, or 3. Address use? I'll give you a few seconds. Just choose the best option over to your right. I see a couple of people saying at the time of use, and a few more for storage, but most of you are saying at the time of collection. Smart crowd as always, but frankly, you're all right. Every company's address cleansing needs are different. Truthfully, we should be prepared to validate, cleanse, and correct our customers, vendors, and manufacturers' addresses at any stage of the journey. We never really know when there's going to be an address change or just an error. Now, if we're talking about the most cost-effective time, of course that would be at the time of collection and entry. I first came across this useful rule on a white paper put out by information builders called The Real Cost of Bad Data. This graph shows that the further that a customer transaction progresses, the more expensive it becomes to correct all the address info. Starting at the top, we'll use $1 to represent the cost to fix an address at the time of entry. During this prevention stage, there is a small prevention cost of increased labor for extra data entry, or the offset cost of software to catch the bad address at this early stage.
All right, everybody can put David to work now by putting a request for info on that software into your question box now.
Hey!
Okay, now $10 is used to represent the cost to fix an address in the system in the correction stage.
That's really just to represent that it could be 10 times the prevention cost. And this could happen after the product has been boxed and labeled. You find the mistake now,
And you need more labor, labeling, and don't forget the cost of a delayed shipment.
I think you see where we're going with this now. Finally, in the failure stage, $100 is used to represent a possible 100 times the cost of prevention to fix an address once a package is shipped with the wrong address. Then you're facing a return, which results in more labor, labeling, and shipping costs, or worse, it results in a lost customer. Address quality and shipping. We covered some of this in a previous webinar series. Let's do a quick refresher. Why should we have good shipping addresses? Well, more accurate shipping means faster delivery. It results in reduced return charges. It reduces carrier-imposed address correction fees, and fewer delivery delays, fewer undelivered packages. It reduces lost shipping dollars. There's fewer attempted delivery fees. It reduces labor costs, reduces lost delivery time, and many, many more hidden costs and fees. Let's look at the U.S. Postal Service's address correction policy, taken from their website. There are 3 different treatments by the USPS for UAA mail. Number 1, it's forwarded to the new address. Number 2, disposed of as waste. And number 3, returned to the sender. Ancillary service endorsements are used to request an addressee's new address and to provide the USPS with instructions on how to handle undeliverable as addressed pieces. The endorsements consist of one keyword: electronic, address, return, change, or forwarding, followed by the 2 words service requested. The endorsements are the same for all classes of mail and packages, but the treatment and cost differ by class of mail. Use of an ancillary service endorsement on a mail or parcel piece obligates the mailer to pay any applicable charges for forwarding, return, and separate address notification charges. Without instructions, USPS will simply return a UAA package or charge $11.50 if you catch the mistake mid-shipment and request package intercept. USPS money-back guarantee will not apply for shipments classified as UAA. There are many varying degrees of undeliverable as addressed mail. Here's a fun example of the ridiculous end of the spectrum. Yes, that is a real envelope, and no, I don't think any of you with us today would do anything like that. The accuracy of your customer's address affects the speed and handling of your package. Let's go over proper addressing as outlined by the USPS. It's the same for a shipping label as it is for an envelope. I know, this is something most of us are familiar with, but stick with me here. It's helpful to fully grasp the importance of address accuracy. Return address. Print or type your address in the upper left corner of the front of the envelope. Extra services. Place labels for extra services above the delivery address and to the right of the return address, or to the left of the postage. Postage. Use stamps, a postage meter, or a PC postage system to affix the correct amount. You can calculate postage online at pe.usps.com. Recipient name. Name of organization. Street address. Use a post office box or street address, but not both. If the address also has a directional, for instance, NW for Northwest, be sure to use it. There may be more than one main street. All abbreviations can be found online in USPS's Publication 28 Postal Addressing Standards. Suite number. The correct apartment or suite number helps to ensure delivery to the right location. City, state, and zip code. To find the correct spelling of a city name or to find a zip code, visit www.usps.com or call 1-800-ASK-USPS. Using the correct zip code helps to direct your mail more efficiently and accurately. Ancillary service endorsements. The ancillary services that we covered here on a return label or in any one of these 4 places on a letter. That wasn't so bad, was it? Now, I want to show you how address quality is compromised and how to ensure address integrity through business rules and technology. Common mistakes from departments not entering address info in the same format, multiple entry points overwriting info that others have entered, multiple systems that don't communicate, not skip tracing, meaning not keeping current customer records, no business rules or procedures in place, and people make mistakes. Let's face it, regardless of your company's core database structure, whether you have a single database or multiple databases, we all have data entry issues. Data entry issues arise from the design of fields used for data storage. I'll explain. Here's a look at typical contract and address entry fields. Company name, contact name, address 1, address 2, address 3, city, state, zip +4. Let's highlight some of the common errors in address data entry. There can be different uses for multiple street address fields, different abbreviations used, different spellings used, typos, didn't hear the customer clearly during data entry, or the data entry clerk gets in a hurry. So your package or letter address could easily go from this to this. See, even the smallest inconsistencies and fluctuations during data entry can have a lasting impact on your address quality and ultimately the deliverability of your goods and invoices. Cleansing the database as it's being entered and while stored in the database is how your organization can mitigate the impact of data entry errors. That brings us to our best practices, lightbulb moment. Adopt a data entry standard now. Here are a few examples of data entry best practices. Return mail collection and correction. When mail from the USPS is returned due to an address error, collect it and assign a single point of contact within each and every department that has access to the original data source for correction. Not just one or some, but all departments to avoid any bad data. Annual contact verification. It should be common practice for companies to verify all contact info for each customer, vendor, and manufacturer, making certain they are communicating with the correct person at the correct address and through the correct communication channel. And while you're checking, save yourself some time by checking both physical and email addresses. Referring again to the Information Builder's white paper, The Real Cost of Bad Data, they also give great advice to treat data as an asset. They state that it's imperative for organizations to develop a culture that makes all data quality a high priority. Employees at all levels and in all departments, not only those who oversee data, but everyone involved with data entry and consumption, must realize the importance of customer, vendor, and manufacturer data, including but not limited to the basic address information. These habits will add immeasurable and lasting benefits to your organization. Just remember the saying, you must train it to retain it. Reactive versus proactive. Many companies wait to take a reactive approach to data quality until after a notification from a dissatisfied customer or the return of an undeliverable package. What these companies don't realize is that once bad data has entered their system, irreversible damage may have already been done. Because bad data can move through a business quickly, other systems may now have stored or even used that bad data, costing the companies even more money, valuable resources, and valuable customers. Try thinking about it this way. Data flows through a system, kind of like a river. Stopping contaminated water at its source is always less costly and will always require less effort than cleaning a larger body of water, like the lake that a polluted river runs into. How many people will get ill, or in our case not receive their package, before that cleansing is complete? Sorry I'm being so dramatic here, but it's true. Many companies are lured into the false belief that their address and other data quality is cured because they tackled it last year as a one-time project. Just remember, this data is dynamic and not static. It is ever-changing. See what I did there? I brought it back around. Scrubbing the system last year only helps temporarily. You add new clients and people make mistakes and the customers move. By developing a system of checks and balances set at multiple checkpoints, whether manually or with software, you will have a proactive approach to quality data culture, which will in turn save you countless time, dollars, and most importantly, customers. I want to thank you for joining us today. Hopefully we have opened your eyes to possibly one of the biggest problems facing your business today and the solutions available. If you do not have systems in place now, we can help you implement address quality software to reduce address degradation, reduce lost shipments, and increase response times for happier customers. Now, for any of you that may have questions left or some that weren't answered by David during the webinar,
What? Didn't answer any questions.
let's get to our final Q&A. For that, I'm going to throw it back to David.
Thanks, Andy. That was great information. I hope we were able to take some of the guesswork out of address quality in your business. I hope this webinar is informative and educational, and that I've answered all of your questions. If not, I'll hang around a little longer. Just type them in the dialog box on the right, and I'll answer as many as possible. Or feel free to send an email to your web manager at glc@omecorp.com, and I'll get them answered. Be sure to watch out for your email invite to upcoming webinars. A couple of those topics are quick fixes for postage machines and how to get invoices paid quicker. Feel free to reply with any suggestions for future topics. And thanks again for joining us, and good luck with your address quality health check.